you have now filed a lawsuit in federal court. Is that right?
That is correct.
Did you read that?
Yes, I did.
In that document, you again failed to mention that you possessed a firearm. Is that right?
That is correct.
So in these documents that you are filing with courts, you are leaving out the fact that you had possessed a firearm when you were shot, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And this is, so to be fair, this is your testimony today, and how this case turns out has an impact on your ability to try to collect your $10 million, right?
That is correct.
So if he's convicted, if Mr. Rittenhouse is convicted, your chance of getting $10 million is better, right?
I'm not entirely sure how that plays out.
When you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right?
Correct.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
Right now, the second week in the murder trial of Kyle Rittenhouse is currently underway. In fact, just moments ago, the jury heard emotional testimony from a man who was shot by Rittenhouse the night of that attack in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Here's NBC News correspondent Gabe Gutierrez.
Aaron and Morgan, good afternoon. A critical piece of testimony today in this courthouse behind me. Gage Grosskreutz, the man that Kyle Rittenhouse shot and wounded during those demonstrations last summer following the police shooting of Jacob Blake here in Kenosha, is now on the witness stand. He is describing his initial interactions with Kyle Rittenhouse that night. Now, importantly, he is telling the prosecution that he brought his own weapon to the demonstrations, that he came down here as a medic. He said that his permit to carry that gun was expired, and he could not recall whether there was an actual bullet in the chamber. But he says when he first saw Kyle Rittenhouse, at some point he believed him to be an active shooter. He does say that he approached Rittenhouse, and that is something that the defense will likely tear into during cross-examination, trying to paint him as the aggressor. And Aaron and Morgan, this is the central question of this case. Did Kyle Rittenhouse act in self-defense? That is what his attorneys are arguing. But last week, the prosecution began to lay out its case, playing about a dozen videos or so from different angles about Rittenhouse's interaction with another man, Joseph Rosenbaum, the first that he shot. Rosenbaum was killed, but Rittenhouse is claiming again that he acted in self-defense. The prosecution trying to convince the jury that it was a Rittenhouse who was looking for trouble and drawn to chaos, as they put it, like a moth to a flame. Now, the prosecution is expected to rest its case potentially as early as perhaps tomorrow. Then it will be the defense's turn, and Rittenhouse's attorneys have indicated that he will testify himself. Aaron and Morgan, back to you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
We want to turn now to the dramatic testimony today in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. A paramedic who was shot by Rittenhouse at a protest talked on the stand about his tense confrontation with the teenager before taking a bullet in the arm. CBS's Nancy Chen is covering the trial in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Jurors watched footage of the moment Kyle Rittenhouse shot Gage Grosskreutz at close range with an AR-15 style weapon.
What was going through your mind at this particular moment?
That I was going to die.
Grosskreutz says he lost 90% of his bicep.
That looks like my bicep being vaporized.
Grosskreutz, a professionally trained medic, treated nearly a dozen protesters that night. He says he heard gunshots and ran toward them.
I thought that the defendant was an active shooter.
Today, the jury was shown new drone video of Rittenhouse shooting and killing Joseph Rosenbaum. A crowd chased and confronted Rittenhouse as he fled that scene. Then Rittenhouse shot and killed another protester before wounding Grosskreutz. Rittenhouse claims he was acting in self-defense. His attorney questioned Grosskreuz's actions leading to the shooting.
When you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him, it wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
Defense attorney Joe Tamburino, who isn't connected to the case, says both sides are leaning heavily on Grosskreuz's testimony.
Because when you have a witness on the stand who almost died, they can be very powerful witnesses on either side.
And the prosecution has said they will rest their case tomorrow. The defense has indicated that Rittenhouse himself may take the stand, and that could be in the next few days, Nora.
Nancy Chen, thank you.
Yeah, Shep, the defense came out swinging, trying to convince jurors that it was that medic who chased Rittenhouse, not the other way around.
Now, you had said that you were looking for a non-lethal way to end this interaction.
That is correct, yes.
Yet you pulled your gun out and began, I'm going to use the word chase. You began chasing or running after a man who was running away from you, correct?
That is correct.
When pressed, he said that he did not intentionally point his gun at Rittenhouse, but the defense seized on the uncertainty, also bringing up that Grosskreutz was suing the city and could benefit financially if Rittenhouse is convicted. Now, late today, a police detective also took the stand. The defense trying to hit that point that Rittenhouse only fired upon people who either confronted him or attacked him in some way. That's a central part of their case. Now, so far, the prosecution has called 20 witnesses to the stand. It's possible that prosecutors could rest their case as early as tomorrow. Then it's the defense's turn, and it's possible that Rittenhouse himself could testify later this week. Shep?
Gabe Gutierrez live at the courthouse.